A warm welcome to the Paladion Annual Security Summit. We thank you for taking some time off your busy schedule and being here with us today evening. I am Binu Thomas. I head India business for Paladion. I have my senior colleague Dr. Jagan Warman.
Hello.
Dr. Jagan works with our large enterprise customers, consulting with them for strategic risk management and planning. This is the 5th year of our Paladion Security Summit. Our earlier summits, we focused mostly on technologies. But this time, we decided that we would focus on how to make the right decisions. All of us have a lot of technologies in place. It's SIM, DAM, DLP, whatnot. A lot of technologies are there. And these technologies give us a lot of data. But these technologies by themselves does not make decisions. They don't have a mind of their own to do things or to decide on what needs to be done. It has to be done by us. So in today's evening, we will be looking at how we could make right decisions considering all the technologies that we are having. Of course, we all make decisions day in, day out, whether personal or professional. It's not like one of my friends whom once I asked, do you make decisions? And he told, wait, let me get back to you. But in this room, we have the senior leaders who manage the information security infrastructure of your organizations. So you take decisions all the time. Your IPS gives you data. IPS does not make a decision, you make. Our organization expects us to make the right decisions all the time. So how do we ensure that we make the right decisions all the time? Or at least, how do we increase our chances of making the right decisions?
Brain science tells that there are two types of thinking. A guy by name Dr. Sperry got a Nobel Prize for inventing the right brain and left brain thinking, the lateralization of the brain. So, who are left brain thinkers? The guys who are more logical, the guys who are more analytical, the guys who are more objective thinkers. There are many other parameters to call a person, left brain. The right brain thinkers are more intuitive, more holistic thinkers. They look at the big picture and say, okay, this is what it is. And naturally, both the right and left work in tandem. Otherwise, we will be going in two different directions. Now, let us look at the intuitive thinking part, which comes from the right brain. The right brain thinkers fundamentally develop this based on their personal traits, by their habits, by their education, the environmental conditioning, and so many other factors. That's what decides, I was having just a quick chat with Harsha Bhogle. He was mentioning that every ball is a risk when you talk about cricket. So where in this kind of a situation, ball to ball, you can't be sitting and analyzing. When somebody like Afridi is bowling on the other side. So what do? You use your intuitive thinking, and sportsmen are the best guys. They are the guys who really employ intuitive thinking. And if you look at it, who else is a better person than Harsha Bhogle to deliver a speech or share his thoughts on decision making and winning ways that he has observed so many teams, so many top players. So he's going to share some of his learnings today with you. So I will also be sitting along with you and enjoying that.
See, today Paladion is a 14-year-old company. these 14 years, we have been in the forefront of the information security domain. We have been part of a lot of evolutions and trend changes in the information security domain. Today, we forecast that the future is going to change in the way in which information security decisions are being made. The focus of the future would be more in taking information security decisions that are based on analysis or analysis-based risk decisions. Therefore, today as a company, we are dedicating ourselves to build technologies that will enable you to take more analysis-based decisions. Technologies that can pull data from all the tools and all the platforms that you are having, aggregate them, and then give you the right insights to take the right decision. So now the big question comes: information security and analytics. I think analytics is a much used and abused word these days. We all know that information security is a vast field. Analytics is an even vaster field. You try to marry information security with analytics. What is the right problem that we are trying to solve? Now, this is the first question that we need to ask. Like Einstein once said, if you give me 1 hour to solve a problem, I spend 55 minutes asking the right questions and 5 minutes to solve. So we set out asking all the right questions. What is the problem that we are trying to solve when we marry information security and analytics? And what is it that we should be getting from analytics which would help information security decisions? And we have seen that. And today we can categorically say that there are only 3 decisions that can be taken with the support of analytics, and 3 important decisions. Number 1, know which attacks, threats to fight against, and know which to leave with. Know which vulnerabilities to close, and know which ones to leave with. And know which assets to protect and the assets that you can live with. These are the 3 key decisions that analytics support you to take in your information security management.
Analytics is useful to make sound decisions. We all agree on that. Especially in complex situations, analytics is employed to decide, to arrive at the right decisions. The data is there, the intelligence is there. You have frameworks available to analyze the data. You have tools available also to analyze data. The analysis part of it is something that we all do in our day-to-day jobs. And we also know from the drawing lessons from war stories, because there is a lot of parallel between military type of work and what we do in information security. Though we don't have ground forces and air force to defend us, we have cyber defense. We do different types of defense and protection. Now, coming back to analytics, I would like to share with you a very real story that happened during the Second World War, Normandy. Of course, the name was not known. That is the whole story is all about. Dwight Eisenhower was taken over as the commander-in-chief of the Allied forces, comprising of Canada, US, and Britain. Now, the Allies wanted to teach a lesson to the Germans by initiating the first attack on France, on the French border, on the French coast. Now, the Germans were definitely winning at that time, and the Russians on the other side were requesting the Allied forces to start to embark on an attack from the western side of Europe, starting with France. Now, in this situation, 1 million troops were amassed, and the British and the leaders there did a very interesting thing. They created a decoy situation in the border of Britain, which was near the Thames estuary. It was exactly you can't say diametrically opposite. It was very near to the other side, which was called Pas de Calais. Calais was the beach town where the Germans have put their battalions, and they were made to believe that the attack is going to come from the other side, and the British, the Allied troops are going to attack Calais. These guys, the British amassed a huge decoy setup. They created tents. They put up stick with a helmet, so that when you are on a reconnaissance flight, the pilot will be seeing, thousands of guys swarming there, whereas it is just a stick and a helmet, Now, they also put up a radio station. So, and double agents were told that possibly the attack may take place in Calais. So, the Germans, from this perspective, whatever we are discussing, they analyzed this whole thing with the data. They had the data, the mass amassing of the troops on the other side of Britain. The ground forces are being brought in. There are tanks. There are radio stations, which is necessary for information exchange. Double agents tell us that the British are going to, Allied forces are going to attack Calais. So they amassed their entire defense on Calais. And on the D-Day, in fact it is called D-Day because they never thought of a particular name for that. So they just used the letter D. On the D-Day, 6th June, the Allied forces attacked several hundred kilometers away from Calais, a beach town called Normandy. And the landing took place. It was absolutely smooth, very little resistance from the German platoons which were stationed there, and 1.5 million soldiers landed, and the rest is history. So what does it tell us? You may have the data, you may have the intel, you may have everything required to do analysis and analytics, but then peripheral analysis can only lead to the debacle that happened in Normandy. Whereas deeper analytics, looking at the information from various paradigms and various angles, results in better decisions, and it can win a war or lose a war.
In summary, technologies don't make decisions for us. We have lots of security technology in our place. We decide. And as we saw, if we leave it to technology, we probably be in the middle of the water, just like Jagan was in his Goa trip. And when we decide in two ways. The intuitive way, which is what Harsha Bhogle will share a lot on how sports people use intuition, which is basically backed with lots of experiences, on making split-second risk decisions. Every decision that a sports person makes is a risk trade-off. So we will try to draw some lessons from there, probably not lessons, but try to draw some learnings from there and see how do we make risk decisions and how do others make risk decisions on an intuitive scale. There is the other part of it, which is the data analysis-based risk decisions, and which is what we specialize as a Paladion, and which is our vision going forward, to build analytical tool for better risk decisions. Of course, war examples are always very fascinating, and war examples always shows you what kind of decisions go right, what kind of decisions go wrong. But what do you do for our day-to-day information security? How do you use security analytics? So I'll not talk too much about the intuitive part because that's what Harsha Bhogle is going to talk about. So I'll just spend next 5 minutes describing what do we mean by security analytics for information risk management. As we saw, there are primarily 3 key decisions that we want to take: which attack to protect against and which one to live with, similar for the vulnerability, similar for the asset. And since I want to draw on the Calais part of it, are we protecting Calais or are we protecting Normandy in our day-to-day life? How do we decide on that? If you look at any mid-size breach-prone company. When I say breach-prone, probably it has to be a financial sector, retail sector, or probably it has to be a healthcare kind of sector where there is a lot more public data, even a telco-related sector. So if any breach-prone mid-sized company today probably would have over 2,000 security data coming in from threat perspective if they have implemented all the threat technologies like DLP, APT, SIEM, IDS, IPS, all those kind of things. You need some kind of data analysis to decide where is Calais in that and where is Normandy in that out of that 2,000. And as we all know, information security, the biggest problem is there is lots of false positive, and it's nothing to do with technology because mathematical term it's called false negative. If you miss something, your technology will be considered as really, really bad. If you compensate for false negative, overcompensate for false negative, you have a trade-off and you'll end up with lots of false positive. So you'll keep saying wolf is coming because you don't want to miss out any day on which the wolf really comes. So none of the security technologies per se, the threat technologies per se, are going to optimize their false positives because they are meant to alert you. So you need to have another technology on top which can help you to make better decisions on which is Calais and which is Normandy, which is a false positive, which is really an attack, or which is really a brewing thing, need not be an attack as of now. And that's where the security analytics technology focuses on. It's not only statistics. Today, analytics is marrying maths with computers, and that's why it's called analytics. When I say maths, we all know if I have all the vulnerabilities of an asset and I match it with the alert, it's a simple match and it will say here is an alert, here is a vulnerability, please go and fix. We all know in real life I can never have the full list of vulnerabilities of all the assets. Even if I have it, it will be one asset's vulnerability as known 6 months back. I don't even know what's the current status that is there. So it's not a very deterministic match, and that's where maths comes in. So you have lots of models because economists have solved this model of missing data. So you have lots of stochastical model, you have lots of simulated model to see wherever data is missing, you can still do a match. And that's what analytics is all about, using maths. Other part of analytics is also about using machine learning. Not only current match, but if you have huge amount of data, if you are really running a security operations and you have 6 months of data or 1 year of data, how do you find out what is brewing inside? One of the biggest problem of information security is how do you detect multi-step attacks? Something happened 4 days back, something happened 6 weeks back, something is happening today, something is likely to happen tomorrow. That match never happens because tools have not yet been built for that, and that's where the machine learning comes in. The machine tries to do all kinds of matching and tries to make lots of decisions. Of course, we all know Google car is a very extreme high end of machine learning. But the concepts that a Google car uses is the similar concept that even a security technology would be using. Google car is doing nothing but at every step trying to make only 2 decisions. A decision on direction and a decision on speed. Should I move right, left, go straight? Should I increase my speed, decrease my speed, go from 0 to say 200 is the car speed? That's all it is making, a decision. But it's using huge amount of machine learning because it has all the sensors. It's picking up all kinds of information about road, vehicle, directions, GPS data and all. And all that information is going in, and it has been run for multiple miles in the past that given those information, what is the right decision? And the machine has learned that similar kind of information because never the sensors will have the exactly same information as in the past. But given the similar kind of information that I'm getting from sensor, what is the best decision to make in terms of direction and in terms of speed? And that's what we are going to talk about when we say we will build a machine learning in information security. Given the similar kind of patterns that I see from sensors, from alerts in the past, if I took a decision in the past, can I try to see similar decisions today, right? So that's on the machine learning. So that is what Paladion as a company we are focused on, to build a security analytics using maths and machine learning to make better decisions, either on threat data or on vulnerability data or on the asset data. And with that, I will close our session, and we would invite Harsha Bhogle for the next session. Before that, a very quick overview of few slides on what Paladion as a technology we are building on the security analytics, and with that we will move on to the next session.
Thomas Edison failed several times before he invented. And he said, now I know 500 ways the bulb doesn't glow. And that's the example being spoken in many induction programs. I'm pretty happy about it. That's, at least in certain pockets, may not be full, but there's a risk-taking ability and what's called play to win rather than play not to lose. That strategies are being adopted. So I'm pretty happy with it.
One of the things we also talk about a lot is defense. A lot of the times in sport, we only talk about... Kevin Pietersen came to India with the England side and they played a test match in Ahmedabad. I don't know if you met Narendra Modi before that, but he couldn't put bat to ball. The left-arm spinners were having fun with him. And then he came to Mumbai for the second test match and we produced a designer wicket. Sometimes when your motives are wrong, the result goes wrong. Just as England prepared a green top to win and lost, several times when our motives are inherently wrong, we get the wrong result. So we created a pitch for us to win. And Kevin Pietersen made 186. It was one of the greatest innings you will ever see. And I asked him, I said, what happened? This guy who could not put bat to ball in one game on a ranked turner goes and plays the innings of the decade maybe. He said something very interesting. He said, I backed my defense. He said, I sat between the two test matches and I said, I need to be alive to play my shots. And the only way I can be alive to play my shots is to back my defense through the dangerous period. He said, I told myself, you're Kevin Pietersen, right? Can't you block 20 balls, 25 balls? So maybe if you block 25 balls, you're around to hit 45. That happens in test cricket. You can't do that in T20 cricket. But defense is something that's not talked about very much. And I don't know if it's not talked about much among the young warriors in the corporate world as well. Is finance defense and marketing attack? I don't know. I keep drifting away into something else. Anyway.
There are traders, their job is to make money for the bank. And there are chief risk officers, so they're kind of pulling it down. And they keep fighting with each other. So I am accelerator and you're a...
Great outswinger comes in. That is where your defense works for you. Is risk management a bit like defense? It is, isn't it? It's a bit like defense, yeah.
Sometimes they, because of so many defense, become very offensive.
Yeah.
The kind of demand they put sometimes is very, very bad. Somewhere there, that
as you said rightly earlier, that manager should support new members. So our politicians who are heading all these cricket clubs, and so they are putting pressure, or that's why people are not ready to take risk?
Luckily in my profession, I don't need to know them. So I'm very happy. I do my job and I go home. I have no idea of how this cricket is run and what goes on behind the scenes. So but on this issue, I think there was a lot of simmering discontent throughout. And one of the things you'll find is that an unhappy team is a bad team.
Hi, I am Sudhakar. I am from ILFS Technologies. I would like to learn from you regarding this alternative career opportunities. You seek something different for yourself. Being a good student.
Maybe you can shift to the other side and work with Paladion.
Yeah. So, how come you took that decision in your life at that tender age, and then it's like you have created something different for yourself?
This world was very different then. Opportunity costs were very low. Salaries weren't very high. So you weren't missing very much. Married a good girl with a house, who was also earning. So there's not much of a risk there. I think you define risk by what your aspirations are. We didn't have much. In the mid-80s, what were you aspiring for? I was very lucky in that I had an educational background that I could get a job with any time I wanted. So it wasn't really a risk. Having said that, when you're doing something different and you're giving up your strength to go into somebody else's strength, then you must try to become the best in the world at it. Otherwise, it's not worth doing it. Because otherwise, you're giving up your strength to play to someone else's strength. Then you better be very good. Otherwise, as a competitive advantage, you've lost a competitive advantage. You all said Michael Porter, right? You must have competitive advantage. So if I have to give up a career in advertising to go into cricket broadcasting, which didn't exist then actually, I was just freelancing around. But then you do everything in the world. So I would do anything.
Harsha, hi, this is here. Dave from NPCI. Usually the core...
Are you Paladion customer or no?
Yes, we are. So usually if the objective of the risk function is to protect the business,
yes,
that's the objective.
Correct.
But if we see from the business side, they say these guys stop the business. They are always hindrance to the growth. What's your view on this? Because
I think it's always, even in sport, it's always like that. How much what resources do you put to defense and what resources do you put to attack? If you strengthen, you put all your resources in defense, you've got no one to score a goal. But if you don't have a defense at all, like this year with Brazil in the glory days, that they will score 5 goals but concede 6. Because nobody in Brazil wants to be a goalkeeper, right? Everyone wants to be the next superstar, right? Why would a Brazilian superstar want to become a goalkeeper of all things? But if you don't have a goalkeeper, you don't win. As they discovered when they were playing Germany the other day. So it depends on what resources you assign. If you don't have a defense, you don't have an attack. Very clearly. Because if you don't have a defense, then you're in Brownian motion. You're just being haphazard. You see batsmen who don't have a defense hitting the ball. They look like all of us when you're in 6th standard. Because we're afraid of the ball, we're swinging our bat. So if you don't have a defense, one of the ways of finding out if somebody's afraid of the ball is if he's trying to hit every ball. Because when you're afraid, you play more shots. When you're afraid, you speak faster. When you're afraid, you want things to get over very fast. The people who have a defense are the people who will be able to attack for longer. If you're just a slogger, you slog 4 balls, 5 balls, 6 balls, and you're gone. But if you're able to block, then you're around when the sloggable ball comes. So unless you have a defense, you don't attack. So you'll find that a lot of teams who want to win matches and score goals place a lot of emphasis on their defense. So maybe, I don't know if that's the way the parallel works, that maybe risk management is defense that allows you to create an organization which can attack. But certainly in football, for example, unless you have a good defense, you can score 4 goals, but you lose the match.
In our day-to-day activities, we face invisible enemy kind of thing. Any example which you can correlate with cricket? At the ground, it may be playing a safe, taking a risk, and finally giving a winning shot for the team. But any invisible enemy which you can correlate?
To our young kids, the most invisible enemy is actually the most visible. But they do not realize it, and that's fame. Fame is the biggest enemy of young players in India. Money is a very close second. We are discovering that a lot of young kids with very little money work their backsides off. They become much better than the city boys because they try harder. The city boys have a lot of things going for them. They have a great bed to go back to. They have a lot of pocket money. They have a girlfriend. They have video games. So there's a lot of things that come in the way of becoming very good. So these kids play 12 hours a day. They become very good. And then they become famous. They get big contracts. And they don't know how to handle fame and money. And that is a danger that not enough people are warning them about. There are also other dangers. The biggest danger in our sport is if you like money, there are a lot of people who know you like money. And those are the people to be very, very careful of. Because these people are in the profession of knowing who likes money and who has a weakness for it. So you can manage all your risk on the field. You can say, I know exactly which ball to hit. I know what my bat is like. I know if I just push it, I'm going there. I can manage my risk. I know against this bowler, I'm not going to take a chance. Against this bowler, I am. You manage all that very well. And then you go off the field and you ruin your career. So to a lot of young people, the hidden dangers or the biggest dangers really are more off the field. And it's something we all need to worry about. Anything that's easily available is dangerous.
Our new generation, can they perform same thing?
We'll never know unless they actually go there and do it. We took a team to Australia in 2011 which had Sehwag, Dravid, Tendulkar, Lakshman. We lost 4-0. So experience is very good, but there is no substituting physical reflexes. So after a while, time moves on, as it will for me, and it will much after it moves on for me, for you. There's a very interesting story about Dhoni's approach to risk. We all lambasted him when he didn't take a single. He kept the strike when Ambati Rayudu was batting at the other end. And we thought he had disrespected his teammate, right? By not taking a single. His idea was very clear. He said we need 14 and 5 balls to win. If I take a single, it's 13 from 4 balls. Who has the better chance of scoring the runs? Do I have a better chance of scoring 14 from 4 balls? Because I've not taken a single off the 5th ball, right? It's 14 from 5. I don't take a single, it's now 14 from 4. I take a single, it's 13 from 4, but I'm not in strike. Now handle the risk yourself. Who's got a better chance of winning a game? Me with 14 from 4 or Rayudu with 13 from 4? And so he thought he had the better chance, he backed himself. It didn't work, but there are several occasions when it has. There was a game in the West Indies where India needed 19 or 20 from 3 overs to win, and they only scored 4 runs in the next 2. And it came down to 15 in the last over. And he said, whatever happened, I had to be in strike when the last over started. If it meant my number 11 playing 3 dot balls, so be it. When the last over starts, I have to be in strike. And he says something very different as well. He says the moment you get into a one-on-one situation, he says 15 runs to win, the bowler is running in, I'm batting, it's tough for me. But if the bowler concedes 15, who loses more? So bowler is afraid too, right? He said, I like to play myself into a one-on-one situation where the other person is just as afraid to lose. And then I back myself to be mentally stronger than that person. So that's his approach to playing. And one of the reasons he comes off so many times is that in a situation where you need 18 of the last over, everyone thinks the pressure is on the batsman. But at 18 in the last over, who has more to lose, the batsman or the bowler? The bowler has much more to lose than the batsman with 18 required of the last over, right? So who is the pressure on, the batsman or the bowler? Just so what? Okay, 18 of the last over, the pressure on the bowler, right? I'll back myself to handle that pressure. And one of the things we talk in sport a great deal is playing off the fear in the enemy camp. We have fear in our camp, but there is also fear in the enemy camp. Can you play to the fear in the enemy camp? And that's what he does a lot of. Plays to the fear in the enemy camp. It looks like a risk, but he's backing himself to do that. And if he fails once in 5 or 6, that's still a fantastic percentage.